In this episode of Crystal Uncorked, we are talking about just being you, being human, being real and authentic, and being okay if you fuck up. Because look, chances are you're going to, because you're human. And I think that we don't give ourselves enough grace when that does happen, when we do mess up. And I've worked with so many business owners over the past decade plus, and a very consistent theme for a lot of them has been not wanting to use video to market their business or having fear of putting themselves out there. And those fears of video and putting yourself out there, they stem from a lot of things. But what I've heard is fear of what people will think, which I totally suffered from starting this, getting the show started. It took me 2 years to overcome that fear. But, caring what people will think, or what if I mess up, or what if I say the wrong thing? I had a client who was so terrified that she might cuss, opposite of me at my show, but she was so afraid. So she wouldn't go live because she was worried about that. What if they hate me, or nobody cares? Nobody wants to see me. Nobody cares. And I just want to talk about those things today because I've gone through a lot of those, and I have some tips and thoughts that I want to share. And I also have made some mistakes, and some of them are kind of funny. So I'm going to share them in this episode. So let's dive in. Hello, I'm Crystal Vilkaitis. I'm a curious, wine-loving entrepreneur who loves to learn and have open and honest conversations. Join me and my amazing guests as we talk about all sorts of relatable business and life stuff. It's my goal that you'll have fun, learn something new, and get inspired. Wine is not required, but is recommended. This is Crystal Uncorked. All right. So what am I drinking? You're dying to know. Well, I'm a letdown in a way. I'm drinking water today, but not for long. In about an hour and a half, I'm meeting up with my team, some of my local team members, to get happy hour, get some wine to celebrate my birthday. It's a few weeks late, but this is something we do for all of our employees. Birthdays are actually really important to me. I give all of our employees their birthday off, paid, and they can also choose if they want to do that on a weekend or something. So they can have a 3-day weekend, but I just think that that is our day. We should have it off. And then we also give them a little bit of a gift. And then if you're local, we try to meet up and celebrate in person and do a happy hour. So I'm excited to see my team. So I'm waiting till I see them, but I feel like I drank enough for last week's episode and this week's episode when I interviewed Akash at Akash Winery. I hope you had the chance to check out that interview, even though I was pretty buzzed and it was the last stop on our wine tour. It was such an honor to sit down with him. And that was the first person that I've interviewed that I didn't know. So I'm curious what you thought of it. Let me know. But today, with my trusty water, we are talking about why it's so important to just be you and be human. And if you fuck up, to be okay with that. And I want to start with talking about messing up, because I think that does hold a lot of people back, because they get afraid about, if I mess up, what will people think about me? And I have this level of I want to be at this level. I want to be perceived this way. I'm a professional. And we just get really nervous about that. So the fact of the matter is that there's a very good chance you will mess up, and you have no idea in what capacity. For, one of my favorite stories that I tell from stage is we were working with a retailer, Frank, with Anna's Flowers, and we kept saying to them, you guys gotta go live. You gotta use live stream on Facebook. They had a really engaged community on Facebook, but they weren't using live streaming, and they weren't wanting to be on camera. Not everybody is like me. I love doing video training and being on camera. Not everybody does. I totally get that. But I will tell you that it's one of the best tools you can use to market your business and grow a community and build relationships. And after a while, you realize it's not that bad. So I really push people to do it. And so finally, they went live, and Pauline had a notification turned on that they were going live. So she saw it happen in the moment. So she yells over to me in the office, Anna's Flowers is going live. I'm like, what? Really? So I'm like trying to log on to watch too and to support them. And what happens is, Pauline's on right away, and you see there's Frank, and he says, hi, this is Frank from Anna's Flowers. Says a few words, and then the phone falls and Frank cusses, and then the live video ends. And I didn't even get to see it. Pauline caught it, which is so funny. But the thing is I told Frank, you should have kept going. You should have kept filming, because people love when we mess up. First of all, okay? Second of all, first, you're going to probably mess up. Second, people love it. If you look at a lot of the viral content, it's when like the unplanned things happened. And we really like to see how people can just go with the flow. How do they recover? One of my favorite viral videos is when the CNN reporter is reporting from his home office, and you see the door in the back open up, and his little girl with the cute little glasses comes marching in, and the wife comes in trying to get the babies, and then the baby in the little stroller thing comes in, and it's hilarious. Like, that thing has been seen millions and millions of times, and it was a total mess up, right? So I just want you to know it happens to the best of us. And if you do mess up, then just say, oh, I'm human. Oh, totally messed up. Oh, of course. First time I go live, the phone fell down. I think he was a little worried about cussing, and, I get it. That wasn't their brand. So they killed the video. But it's just so important to do it anyways, to show up. For me, I have a kind of a funny story there too, where I was working with Snap Retail, and we would go to all these summer shows in Vegas and Atlanta and Dallas. And I was in Dallas, and I would do several seminars. Like, I think the max I did was 6 seminars in one day, 6 1-hour seminars. Like, that is tough to keep your energy up and present. And this day, I think I only had 3 or 4. And so I'm on, I'm kind of in the middle of my speaking day, and I get started, and I'm presenting. I'm showing the screen up there, and it says I'm talking about deep discounts, like doing deep discounts on merchandise and product and promoting that on social media. But I said, do you offer deep dick? Instead of, do you offer deep discounts? And when I said that, thankfully, I was looking at the screen and not my audience, because if I looked somebody in the eye in my seminar and said deep dick, I don't know how I would be able to recover from that. That would be terrifying. Thankfully, in this case, I was looking at my screen. I said, do you offer deep dick? Deep discounts, I quickly recovered, and I looked at the screen for a couple minutes, and then I came back composed, and the show went on. But I totally saw a few of my coworkers in the back losing their shit. They were laughing. So they're laughing so bad that they have to get up and leave. And I'm like, thank God they got out of here, because I don't want to be seen by anybody right now. So I end that seminar. I go to our showroom, and the team is dying laughing. They told everybody that that wasn't there, and they're just totally making fun of me, blah, blah. Well, in 15 more minutes, I have to go back and do another seminar. So I'm just laughing, but I feel a little brain dead. It's end of day. I go to do another presentation, and there were only 6 people in my audience here. So for this last one, I didn't have hundreds of people, thankfully. Oh my gosh. And so within the so all of a sudden now all the employees want to listen to me speak, because they're just what's she going to say this time? So I have more people who are on my team in the seminar, plus these 6 retailers. And within the first 5 minutes, I fuck up again. I said we had these little remotes, and that I gave everybody in the audience, and I would ask questions on the screen. It was multiple choice. And on the remote, they could choose A, B, C, or D. It was really fun, actually. It was very interactive. I'd play music, I'd dance a little, and I would ask questions, and I could survey my audience. We could talk about those results. So the question that I asked, which I was looking at my audience when I said this, was, do you have sales on Facebook? Okay. Do you have sales on Facebook? That was the question. That's pretty easy. I said, do you have sex? And at that point, I didn't, it was period. I stopped. My one employee was sitting right in the front. She starts bursting out, laughing in behind. And I have this Australian man who's a retailer who's sitting in my audience holding the remote. And he asks, so I just say, have you had sex? And he goes, which number do I press for that? Which letter do I press for that? And I'm like, oh my God. I just threw my hands up. I did a twirl, a walk around. I'm laughing. I'm like, how the fuck am I going to collect myself after this point? The first deep dick. Now, have you had sex? What is happening in my mind? How can I make it through this presentation? I'm the first 5 minutes in. I've got 55 more to go. And thankfully, I pulled it together. It was all fine. But here's the deal. It makes for a hilarious story. I felt mortified in the moment. And there's totally times where I've said inappropriate words. I get tongue-tied sometimes, not intentionally, but I get tongue-tied. I've said stuff. You just got to keep moving through. Okay. And people like the guy, which letter do I press for that with the remote? They'll play along too. What people love is knowing you're human. That is what I am getting to here, is that we are all human. We make mistakes. We say the wrong words. Our phone falls when we're going live. Our toddler marches in while we're live streaming. We're human. It's going to happen. And I think if you know that and just remember that, it makes it a little bit easier. It takes some of the pressure off when you are trying to go out there and whatever you're doing. Even if you're applying for a job, or you're going on a date, or you are doing a live stream for your business and your marketing, no matter what, we're all human. And so give yourself some grace and some room and just know it's okay. And what I find too is when people do mess up and they make fun of themselves or they call themselves out, people laugh. And then they move on, and it builds a deeper trust with you. So it's super relatable. The other thing, so we fuck up with our words and, whatever, we say the wrong thing. Sometimes we also are just flat out wrong about something where we've messed up. Oh, I was wrong. Yeah, you're right. That's happened to me before too, where maybe I answer a question and I was actually wrong. I will be the first to say, I am wrong. I am sorry. I think that's a gift that I have, that I'm okay to be wrong. And if I say something to a team member, and Pauline kind of mentioned this, I'm open to feedback. I want to hear what people have to say. It always drove me nuts when I was younger. I'd watch American Idol, and, the judges would give feedback, especially Simon Cowell. And it seemed like everybody hated hearing his feedback, but I'm like, no, listen, this is a great opportunity for you to get better and for you to grow. You're not at your peak. We're always growing. Listen to what people have to say and their feedback, and just listen to that. Don't be offensive, or not offensive, but offended. So, on next week's episode, actually, my old boss, Ted Teal, he's my guest, and his parting advice is so great, and it's kind of in line with what we're talking about today. I really want you to watch the whole episode. I don't want to give it away, but we talk a little bit about just how people can take feedback or ideas, offend and be offended or feel attacked. And your employees are not trying to do that. People who care about you are not trying to do that. It's really just to help you grow or help the business grow. And that's where we really set the ego aside. And if you need to take a day to reflect, if you're feeling ooh, I feel attacked, then don't answer right away, and give yourself some space to really let that idea or that thought breathe and understand it, and so I just think that's an element of making mistakes, whether we just make a mistake, unplanned mistake, or we were wrong and made a mistake, and being okay with saying I was wrong and listening to people. That's all. We're human. Again, we're human. So we're going to make all these mistakes. Now, I think sometimes what happens is we are so afraid of making mistakes, or we're so afraid of what people will think, that we can become somebody else. I've done this in the sense where I have gotten so much training from these online educators and these authors and these speakers, and I've joined memberships and clubs and, just trying to get more information and trying to learn from these big successful people and be like them. And what I found is when I am like them, where I've like taken exactly what they do and implement it into my business, to where I've even changed my copy to where it's basically their copy. It sounds like them, and I've just tweaked it out for my audience or my products. That I'm completely changing my voice, and the thought is like, well, they're successful. Don't reinvent the wheel. I'll just copy that and make it make sense for my audience, my products. But what ended up happening is I did all that. I did so much work and so much time. And I thought for sure we're going to have this epic big launch. And it was one of the worst launches we've ever had. And at the end of it, when we analyzed things, we were like, wow, well, we just changed so much that it's like not even the way that we do stuff, like we lost our voice. We lost ourselves because I was trying to be so much like somebody else who was already successful. I was almost like wanting that shortcut, right? So that didn't work out for me. That's not going to work out. I don't think that you can have a shortcut. Sometimes those work, but when it's at the sacrifice of being yourself and you lose the authenticity, that's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. I don't want a quick win. I want long-term growth and success. And so that was a big learning moment for me, for sure. The other thing I think about with myself is I just love consuming content. Like I love learning, and I'm just such a naturally curious person. And so I will listen to so many books and podcasts and watch YouTube trainings and go to in-person events, and I'm like consuming all this content that sometimes I think I'm consuming from too many people, that I start losing who I am. Like, what do I think? How do I feel? I know how these people do, but like, how do I feel about this? Just because they feel that way doesn't mean I feel that way. And I have found like I'm really into astrology. And so I'm a Gemini, which is an air sign. My rising sign is a Scorpio. My moon is in Aquarius, which is also an air sign. So I'm double air. So I can get stuff done really fast. I'll have an idea and then I move right past it. And I like to move fast. And so when I can hear somebody's thought on something, be like, that sounds great. Yes, let's do that. Or I don't even give myself sometimes that thought to be like, well, is this in line with who I am? What do I believe? Is this right for me? Is this right for us, for our business? And that's been hard. And honestly, over this happened to me this year. I have these periods where I'm like, well, what do I like? Like, who am I? I wrote this down not too long ago. Who is Crystal? Because I'm so caught up in like what I'm supposed to be and what what people tell me I should be, or people tell me where I should be at with my business. Like, but who am I? And I know that happens in relationships too. I saw this with my mom and dad, unfortunately, where I just feel like my mom kind of lost her identity and herself. I've seen that in friends where I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't even recognize you. And they change for their significant others. And sometimes that happens for the good and sometimes that happens for the bad, right? So I just think that, really taking time to listen to ourselves and know who we are and be authentically us, unapologetically us, and giving some grace and knowing that we might mess up and we might make mistakes, but I am me. This is who I am. And so much of that comes into being confident, and we talked about that in a previous episode of confidence and being bold. And so it's something that I'm continuing to work on, but I feel like the more that I am just me, like I feel like I am myself in this show. Like, I really love doing Crystal Uncorked. I feel like I'm myself. I cuss. I can wear whatever I want. I can drink whatever I want. I can talk about whatever I want. And I feel so good about it. And what's happening? Oh my gosh. A couple of weeks ago, somebody reached out to me and she was crying about the impacts the show is having on her. And I started crying. I just was blown away. I couldn't believe it. But I'm able to have that kind of impact, I think, because I'm just being me. And I'm willing to share. And I'm willing to open up. And I'm willing to be vulnerable. And I gotta tell you, I was preparing for this episode. I was actually going to talk about a different topic. And I'm going to do that in a few weeks instead. Because it was a really vulnerable one. And I'm like, man, I really got to work on this a little bit further until I feel good about sharing. I'm going to share it because that is part of this show. I want to create something that is real and honest because I don't see a lot of that right now. At least I haven't found a lot of that out there in podcasts and shows of just like the hard stuff, the vulnerable hard stuff that we all go through. Like you're not just doing business and life perfectly all the time. So anyways, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but guess what? It's my show. So I get to do that. I get to do that and I'm okay with that. So the other thing and the last thing I'll say about just being ourselves, as cheesy as it sounds, there is no one like you, right? And I really do believe that when we become someone else or we become someone we think we're supposed to be, or we just don't even show up at all because we're terrified or we're afraid we'll make a mistake, we are robbing from the people that could so benefit from us. We're stealing from them. Like, it's so selfish to not just be ourselves. Is everybody going to love you? Fuck no. Is everybody going to like you? No. Is everybody going to like jump up and down and say, you're fucking awesome? No. But you will find your people. People need connection. They like similar people. They want to relate. And that's where social media works so well with business because you can relate. They see this human side of the business. So they grow that trust and they want to work with you. Same as just being you and being honest. And you will attract the right people for you and those people out there that would be good for you and you would be good for them, both on a personal and business level. And I will just say, like, for the people who like TikTok, for example, the content, if we do look from a marketing perspective, or even if you just use TikTok personally, the content that goes viral is like super raw, like typically someone's at their house, or it's just like somebody's talking to the camera, or it's just so honest and vulnerable, and they're just themselves. I follow several grandmas, and I'm on like the grandma algorithm TikTok, and I love them because they're just so themselves. They're not trying to be somebody else. They're so authentically themselves. And I think that's beautiful. And I don't think that there is enough of that because people are like, well, I can hide behind a screen and I can become somebody else and I can script whatever I say and I can edit it and I can add filters and I can add music and I can do all these things to become somebody that I think people are going to want to connect with. And I think we can see through that bullshit. Most of the time. Sometimes we get caught up, but most of the time and over time, you start really knowing what's real and what's fake. And if you are putting yourself out there on a business level, people do care about your personal life and about you and your store. So many people have said, nobody cares. Nobody cares what I'm eating. Nobody cares where I travel. Nobody cares what I'm doing. Yeah, they do. We care about what our friends are doing, their favorite restaurant, what their recipe is, where they're going, what they're doing this summer. Like, we want to think of our customers like they are friends. So I just really, really, really hope that we see more transparency and authenticity online and just realness. And I really hope that if you are one of those people that don't put yourself out there in whatever capacity it is, personally or professionally, because you are afraid of what people will think, or, you'll make a mistake or whatever, and you decide to become someone else, you decide to not put yourself out there at all, just remember, like I said, you are doing the world a disservice and robbing us all. And we want to see you. And you know what? I say this 100%, also saying it to myself, because I battle deeply with what people care about me. And I'm going to be super honest about something that I think is so stupid, but it's something I really struggle with. I care so much about what people think about me that I have a really hard time getting dressed to go out and see friends. I've always had this issue. Same with like if I'm going to go to a marketing, like a business conference, if I'm speaking, when I'm speaking, I'm the worst. Ask Pauline. I'm the worst to get dressed. I send her like 25 pictures of outfits to have her help me. I feel super insecure. I hate everything because I'm like, will they like it? Will my audience like it? Will my friends like it? I want to look cute. I want to be in style and I want to feel good and look good. I care so much that it is painful for me to get dressed. It's like, I feel like it's a serious problem. Like I need to get some professional help for. So I just want to say, like, I am learning all of this myself. We're constantly learning, and I was able to put myself out here on this show. That was a huge accomplishment for me, but I haven't achieved it, right? And next year will be something else that I might be afraid of. But I think it's good to have these reminders, and I just want to help anybody who needs that little extra push to just be you and know that people will love you, and you'll find the right people, and you'll feel so much better too if you are you. And I said that I was going to say something finally, but I'm going to say it now. I've heard this a lot too. People get worried about bullies or people like saying mean stuff because people are just sitting behind these machines and are so mean to people out there. I have a YouTube video that went viral and people have said such mean things about me. Oh my God. Such mean things. Like I was called a bitch several times, a stupid, dumb, blonde bitch. I was called a cunt. My video was about hashtags. I was teaching retailers how to use hashtags. Okay. And I was called all those things. So it was really hard for me to read those things, even though I know these people who are these people? They mean nothing to me. It's not going to impact my life. But like, I felt like, oh my God, and there's a good chance I'm going to get a message of somebody who really hates me and rips me apart of something I said. And I'm going to have to cross that bridge. But I really think that it's worth it to put ourselves out there and be us and be true to who we are, not follow somebody else, be true to who we are. It's worth what might come out of that. And I don't want to hide because someone who is unfortunately sad in their life wants to pick on me. So really, it's about sending love to that person. And we know it's more about the pain they're feeling than anything to do with us. So keep all of these things in mind. I really hope that this was helpful. I honestly felt a little like, is this a little chaotic of a topic? But it's what I was pulled to talk about today. And I hope that some of it resonated with you. And I meant to mention this at the beginning, but when this episode comes out, I'm going to be on vacation. I'm going to Maui. I'm going to be on an island and I'm going to snorkel and I'm going to sleep in the sand and just take some time off. I realize that, I really need to detach, and I will be detaching from social media and email. So I won't be posting much. So, but we will get this show out there, and I'd love to know, as always, I'd love to know what you think. You can leave a review or share in a DM on Instagram or email cheers@crystaluncorked.com. That just goes to me. I'm happy to listen to your feedback and hear from you. If there's ever topics that you want to hear on this show or have questions that I can maybe help answer, please let me know. Email, DM, and next week's episode is going to be with Ted Teal, my old boss from Snap Retail. We talk a lot of business topics. It's super informational. I think you're going to love it. So thank you so much for being here. It means the world, and I'll see you on the next See You. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Are you on Instagram? I'd love to see pictures of you listening to the show, a screenshot of your favorite episode, and/or your favorite wines. Share them with me. Just follow and tag @Crystal Uncorked. I can't wait to see you there. All right, I'll see you on the next See You.